Welcome, everybody, to another installment of Nothing But Net Philippines. We are now at episode 15. My name is Aaron Atayde. Thank you all for joining us. If you're watching us on the website, make sure to head on over to YouTube, like and subscribe to everything that we do at ESPN Asia over there. And if you are on Instagram, like everyone else in the world, make sure to head on over to at espn.ph and at ESPN Asia over there. But since the draft combine has come to a close, we decided to bring in some help, the best help that could ever come from that. Jonathan Givony will be joining us in just a little bit. So, Sydney, Gina to, let's run this thing. Let us welcome into the show the man that knows the draft process better than anyone else. You could listen to each and every person online, but no one knows it better than our next guest, the one and only Jonathan Givony. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I wanted to know how excited you were to see the draft combine, because for some people it might not be exciting, but for you, how did you perceive it?
I thought it was a really fun week in Chicago. We got to watch a ton of basketball, meet a lot of people,
Nice.
catch up on conversations, and learn a lot. I mean, first of all, to watch the G League Elite Camp, and then the lottery to see, how the order unfolded. I mean, that was just a shocking night for everybody in basketball. And then we were all watching the Boston Celtics, New York Knicks playoff game when, boom, Jason Tatum tears his Achilles, sadly. And then we go straight into the games the following day, and there were a bunch of pro days and interviews, and really it was nonstop action. It was an awesome week. I'm still recovering, but going back out on the road tomorrow to Los Angeles for the pro days. So the fun never stops this time of year.
This is either the time of the year that you love the most or you hate the most, Jonathan, because I don't think that there's any time that has you this busy.
No, I love it. I mean, I have the best job in the world, so I definitely can't complain. And this is when we have the most eyeballs on the NBA draft, the most people paying attention, wanting to hear what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what we think. And so it's absolutely a blessing to be doing this, especially this time of year.
I think that you know exactly where I'm going with this. And I thank you for building the segue for me there, Jonathan. It was a week of seeing two players, most especially, go through the NBA grind for the very first time. We've been talking about them for years now, but it's the first time that you've had the NBA, I guess, circus following along both Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper. We do this thing here on the show where we ask for one big thing, and you had 1 week to see both Cooper and Dylan. But my question is, when it comes to Cooper, what is the one big thing that you noticed the most?
I think it's his personality. I think it's the way that you feel him in every gym that he is, in every drill, every scrimmage. It's just like a nonstop bundle of energy. He just keeps coming at you. And, talking to people that work out with him every single day, they say, like, you can noticeably feel when he's not in the gym because the energy level just drops by 50%. And then when he comes back in, he just, he pushes everybody to be their absolute best in every moment, just because that's the way that he pushes himself. And so I think it's infectious. And I think that's going to be one of the big things that he brings to an NBA franchise. He's going to be a one-man culture changer because there's going to be no off nights with Cooper Flagg in the lineup. And every practice, I think the same thing. I mean, he does not have an off switch. And I think that really matters in an 82 game season, with the amount of travel that these guys go through. He's going to be playing 110% every moment that he's on the floor.
Yeah, I can honestly say that there's been a lot of talk about Cooper, but that is the first time that I heard anyone talk about his character when it comes to working out. Obviously, we know he's a workhorse in the game, but I didn't know that he was that big of a character as well. Where did you see that the most? Like, how has that been perceived by the league?
I think Tuesday we got a chance to see all the best players go through athletic testing and then extensive shooting drills. And it was incredible how he was in like 10 different places at the same time. All of a sudden he's over on one side of the gym, cheering on his former teammate Tyrese Proctor. Then he's on another, banging out the vertical leap. And then he goes into the pro lane agility drill, which is a little bit of a complex drill. A lot of guys messed it up their first time or two around, and he picked it up right away, knew exactly what he was doing. He breezed right through it. And then, all of a sudden he's out on the other side with Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey just laughing and he's having a great time. And then he sees Khaman Maluach out of the side of his eye. And so he just zooms right over to there and he's just encouraging Khaman and say, come on, mama, let's go. Like we got this. And so it was like, it's he keeps it real, and I think he really does want the best for everybody, but it's just like I was exhausted just watching him. I'm like, this guy he doesn't stop. He keeps coming at you. And how does he, how is he in every place at once? And it's kind of how he is on the defensive side, really in the game too. Just the guy is he's just everywhere all at once.
Speaking of Dylan Harper, you brought him up a while ago. The Philippines is following along as this entire process is going through. What is the one big thing that you learned about Dylan Harper?
Just the kind of shape that he's in. I mean, he has to
Hmm.
be. I went to Santa Barbara to watch him work out, so I saw what he's going through every single day. 2-a-day workouts, and then the P3, which is it's a strength and conditioning, but it's more than that. They focus very heavily on mobility and agility and improving their explosiveness, and he's made some real gains in that side. I mean, his testing was very good. And he's lost 15 pounds here since the last time that we saw him. So the last measurements that we got at the Nike Hoop Summit last April. And so he's in incredible shape. He's also grown an inch in that time. I mean, he's a legitimate 6'6" now in shoes, 6'10" wingspan. I mean, he's big enough to play small forward, but he's a point guard who can really handle the ball, get the spots on the floor, play through contact, draw fouls, make others better with his passing too. So, I mean, Dylan Harper, he's just getting better and better every time I mean, I had a chance to see him frequently here because I live in
Mhm.
New York City. He played at Rutgers. It was only about a 50-minute drive. So I was at a lot of practices, a lot of games. So I saw him a lot. But I mean, he's putting in some real work here to maximize his potential and also to be the best version of himself that he can be because this guy is hungry. I mean, he's got a real work ethic. He really pushes himself. He's a competitor. And I think he's going to be an outstanding NBA player when it's all said and done.
I cannot wait to see which team really he goes to. We're learning more about Cooper and Dylan and even Ace Bailey and some of the bigger names in this draft. So I actually wanted to focus on the international talent in this draft because being that these prospects are fresh out of college and fresh out of school, I think that this is an opportunity for us to get to know them on a different kind of relationship because when they're fresh out of school, I think of yearbooks. And I think that the yearbook label is something that we can go with right now to try and learn more about the different prospects. Like, for instance, I noticed in the March Madness tournament that there were a lot of foreign students that were on NCAA Division One teams, making their name very much known. So I wanted to know if there was a best foreign student, who would that be?
I'd probably go with Khaman Maluach from Duke. Just because the impact that he makes on the defensive end. He's 7'2", 7'7" wingspan, 9'6" standing reach. I mean, he has an incredible I mean, you can't shoot over him. I mean, the way he anchors the paint, and just you put on top of that the energy that he brings, the intensity level, and his mobility has made incredible strides here. We saw Duke really asking him to do a lot this year defensively, stepping out on ball screens, hedging screens out past the perimeter, and then switching on to smaller players and covering a lot of ground, recovering back to the rim and blocking shots and contesting jumpers all over the floor. That's a really valuable skill to have in basketball today. I mean, he's going to be a guy that just changes the complexion of the game every time he steps on the floor because of that length, but also the mobility and the intensity, and also the instincts that he possesses. He's a very good shot blocker. He's a very good rebounder, and he's made huge strides on the offensive end as well.
There were some concerns about his paperwork ahead of the draft. Has that been resolved at this point?
Yeah, we haven't heard any issues. I mean, he's about to switch to a new type of visa in a couple of weeks from now when he's drafted. So I don't believe that's going to be a concern. I mean, he actually grew up in the NBA infrastructure. He went to the NBA Academy in Senegal. And so people are going to be closely looking out for Khaman Maluach for sure.
I am excited to see that as well. Okay, on the other side of things, the one aspect that I guess that I can rely on you the most is understanding foreign talent. You've been seeing it for so long, and it's always a surprise sometimes whenever we see foreign talent in the draft. When you look at it in this pool, who is the best foreign player that served, I guess, their buildup playing away from the Americas?
Yes, if we want to talk about non-college players, I would point to Noah Esenge, who has been on an incredible upswing here. He's 18 years old. He doesn't turn 19 until December. He's the second youngest player in this draft, only 3 days older than Cooper Flagg. But he's been having a major impact all season long for Radio Farm that plays in Germany. They are right now in the quarterfinals of the German playoffs, playing against a EuroLeague team in Alba Berlin. And he got his series off with an incredible boom. He had 21 points in his first contest. He went 13 for 13 from the line. Drawing fouls, it might be the best thing that he does right now, because he's just such a mismatch every time as he steps on the floor. He's 6'11", but he's an outstanding athlete. He's really hard to contain in the open court. He generates turnovers at a very high rate. He's an excellent cutter. He's an excellent finisher. He's made significant strides with his perimeter shooting as well. To go 13 for 13 from the free throw line, that tells you something about his shooting touch also. So it's very interesting to see a guy who's that young, doesn't turn 19 until December, but is able to be that productive playing, in a high level competition against a EuroLeague team like Alba Berlin.
Yeah, you have him on your article that you did with Jeremy Woo, 15th going to OKC. Do you see any NBA comparison that might draw some interest here?
That's a great question. I need to think about the NBA comp because he's such a unique player, because he's 6'11", sometimes guards, point guards, really, really thin. He's going to, he's not going to probably be able to bang with NBA big men right away. So, that's a really good question. I need to think more about the NBA comp a little bit more.
Make sure to follow all of Jonathan Givony's posts on espn.ph so that he can shout me out and say, "Oh yeah, Aaron Atayde asked me this question, and that's why I'm bringing this one up." All right, let's move on to the Glow Up Award. As somebody that was really overlooked throughout high school and bullied all throughout, I appreciate these awards. So with this one, for a player that might have been overlooked, but when you think somewhere down the road this guy is going to be a stud, who is that player?
So I think Hugo Gonzalez is a guy that people might overlook when it comes to draft night, because he's playing for one of the best teams in Europe in Real Madrid, and he's not always able to get the minutes that someone like a Noah Senge or a Ben Saraf is able to get playing at a lower level competition. But Hugo Gonzalez has always been considered one of the best players in his generation. I first saw him when he was 15 years old, 3 years ago at the FIBA Under-17 World Cup, going head-to-head with Cooper Flagg in the finals, USA against Spain. And there were some real questions like, who's the better prospect at that stage? Obviously, we know Cooper Flagg is the more talented of the two, but Hugo Gonzalez has proven himself at every level up until this season, playing at the Under-16 European Championship, the Under-18s, the and then in Adidas Next Generation tournaments. And so I think he's a little bit unlucky to be playing for, such a strong team with guys like Mario Hezonja and Janan Musa, former NBA players who are, in their late 20s and more ready to help a team like Real Madrid play now. But when he's gotten on the floor in his limited minutes, we've seen what makes him special. He's got an incredible athleticism, but he also has a great feel for the game. He plays incredibly hard. He's a two-way player. He's very good in the open court. He's shown a little bit of flashes at playing pick and roll, finding players on the move, and I think that his shooting is going to get more consistent with time. It's hard when you play 5, 7, 8 minutes per game as an 18, 19-year-old to get into that rhythm playing, in the ACB, in the EuroLeague. So I think Hugo Gonzalez might end up getting underdrafted relative to his talent level. But I think when we look back 5 years from now, we're going to say he should have been a lottery pick.
Yeah, and if you really think about a guard forward that played for Real Madrid, there's a guy named Luka Doncic that has that kind of same level of CV there. I don't know if he's going to be the same kind of player, but hey, when you look at the track record, why not, right? Speaking of, all right, so we talked about players that might be sliding under the radar. What about a player, international player, that you believe will be most likely to be an all-star first?
Yeah, so you only really have traditionally 2 or 3 all-stars from every draft class. So I don't like to throw around that label too easily. But let's go with Dylan Harper. Let's,
Yes.
hopefully his mom, Maria, shout out to her. Where they're the Philippine roots. I mean, let's call Dylan Harper international. And absolutely,
Yes.
he has all-star potential. And I know that he embraces his Filipino roots, and he's very proud of that. And I'm sure Maria will be very proud, for him to be the first Filipino all-star in the NBA.
Why not? And as a mom that is Filipino, when she saw the name, she's like, "Who is Dylan? Who is Dylan? Who is this?" That and mom, that's it right there. To Lola Maria, same as well. Last question up. Uh, because we just had the draw at the qualifiers, everyone in the basketball world internationally is looking at the FIBA World Cup in 2027. Who is one name in this draft that we can look forward to then that might be his coming out party?
Aaron, I think France needs Nolan Traore to develop into their starting point guard
I
for
like that.
France. They really don't have, a guy that you could point to that is for sure, like the future for them at that position. Teo Maladon is having a very good season in the EuroLeague. He's bounced back. Frank Ntilikina is another option. I mean, hopefully Killian Hayes makes the next step.
Mhm.
But the French are banking on Nolan Traore to step up and to be that big time ball handler and pick and roll playmaker to pair with Victor Wembanyama, because Nolan Traore is one of the best ball handlers in this draft class. He's one of the best passers in this draft class. He gets anywhere he wants on the court, and he's finished off the year here in a very impressive way with his, improvement of his shooting. So, still only 18 years old, but by 2027, let's hope for France that Nolan Traore, develops enough over the next 2 years to be the starting point guard for France at the 2027 World Cup. Is that where is that going to be held, Aaron? Remind me.
Where would that be?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's maybe in Qatar, possibly.
I believe.
I think it's in Qatar. Yeah, so let's
Uh,
go with that.
the one thing that I do know for sure is that at the Olympics, that position, that point guard position, is exactly where France needed some help from. I mean, they haven't had a really good point guard from their country since maybe Tony Parker that has been able to lead this team. So if Nolan Traore is the next great French point guard, we'll be more than happy to see that, and we are more than happy to have Jonathan Givony on the show. Buddy, thanks for hopping on, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me.
And since we already touched on it with Jonathan, I wanted to put our attention right now on the draw for the 2027 FIBA World Cup qualifiers. Try saying that 5 times in a row. Gilas Pilipinas was drawn into Group A with a team that I think is our biggest rival in international basketball. And it might not be who you think it is. See, Gilas was drawn into Group A with Guam, who features Jericho Cruz, New Zealand, and Australia. This is going to be the first time that Gilas will play the Boomers since the little fracas that they had, I think it was like 8 years ago, and it will be home and away games again. So Boomers will be coming on over to the Philippines for the first time since. But they are not the biggest rivals. I think that it is the team that we have seen 6 times over the past 9 years and 5 times over the past 3, and that is New Zealand. See, the Tall Blacks have only lost once in those 5 against Gilas, and in those 4 other ones, they have been pretty big wins for them. So I think that the biggest rivalry in the region for us has to be with the Kiwis. What do you guys think? Let me know. Put it in the comments section. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at espn.ph and at espn Asia for more. And then, of course, heading on over to YouTube to liking and subscribing to everything on ESPN Asia. My name is Aaron Atayde. Thank you to Jonathan Givony for dropping by. Thank you for sticking out with us for the past, quarter hour. And we'll see you all again next time. Peace out.